Top earning Nigerian artist of 2025. That is something I'm going to share with you guys. Based on this, a lot of people will say that these are the top richest artists. No, they are top earning artists according to what they earn. It's not according to how rich they are. So that is something you've got to understand about that, because most of your being rich depends on your lifestyle, on your background, on your knowledge, and the kind of right investment which you've made, and also based on the kind of things when you dey take yourself, or the kind of contract when you actually sign. So this is based on a kind of statistical report. That is something I need to share with you guys. Based on the report from the beginning of 2006, Burna Boy actually emerged as the highest earning Nigerian artist of 2025. That is something you got to understand. Based on the report for 2025, Burna Boy is the highest earning artist from touring revenue. Not be say other artists not actually earn, no, but that does not make Burna Boy the richest artist also. So we are going to speak about that maybe in this video or in our next video. The position of Burna Boy is driven primarily by extensive global impact or global touring schedule that he actually did in 2025. That is something you got to understand, because Burna Boy was the highest earner in terms of touring revenue in 2025. According to a report, they said he earned over $30 million, from touring revenue. At the time, he was earning 1 point something million, per night, per show, and all those things. That is actually massive. Imagine doing 30 of it. You are, far off $30 million. And that was really massive for Burna Boy in 2025. So, but that does not make Burna Boy the richest, because we don't know the content of contract that Burna Boy actually signed with some agencies, some distribution platforms like Atlantic Records and the rest. We don't know the kind of contract he has with them, because some contracts you could be earning as an artist, but they make money give yourself based on the kind of contract when you sign. That is what we understand, and also the kind of collaborations, the kind of samplings you are doing. At the time, Burna Boy actually did Last was only earning 40% from that Last, and then remitting 60% to Tony Braxton for sampling her work. So those are the things that can really affect, kind of your earnings and how rich you become at the end of the day. Top earners for 2025. This is something I will start counting in from number 5, so that you get to understand, because I made a 5 list of them. From number 5, we got Rema. Rema actually got his earning from international streaming and global sync licensing. Of course, Rema's his own earning actually came in from streamings, especially with the Countdown remix he had with Selena Gomez at the time. So a lot of people refer to Rema as one wonder hit maker and all those things. That was really an embarrassment to Rema to an extent, because the guy was already globally celebrated before the Countdown remix. That is something you got to understand about that. So Rema is on number 5 of that list. And then the growth for Rema actually continued from Countdown residuals and high demand international performances which he's been having. We kind of understand that at the time Rema performed at major events in 2025, and that really counted for a big revenue for Rema at the time. And the number 4 of it is a person of that marketed heavily through tech, beverages, and betting brands, high profit select shows in Nigeria. So those are the earnings that actually gave Davido some money in 2025. And that is Davido is on number 3. Very sorry. Davido is on number 3. On number Two, we got a person of Wizkid. Wizkid actually earned a lot from no, from from streaming and festival and guarantees, festival guarantees and fashion events. He actually earned a lot. When you talk about streaming, Wizkid became the first African artist to really hit 10 billion streams across all credits, and that is really a big money for Wizkid. And most of this earning actually came in from collaborations with Drake, and that is to show you that Wizkid will earn proper, because based on streaming platforms, the earning from American market is different from that of the African market based on the values of our economy. So dominance in the Nigerian market with the album Morayo gave Wizkid a lot of money. Premium festival bookings, partnership with Puma and Louis Vuitton actually gave Wizkid a lot of money. That is something you guys need to understand about that. So when a lot of people are now talking about this, some people go to see this as, this guy earned money too much in 2025. He's the richest artist. No. So that does not guarantee how rich you are. What guarantees is kind of business, how you keep your money, how you invest your money, and also the kind of contract you actually signed up. And number one, like I said, is Burna Boy, who actually got most of his earning from global touring streams. That is something actually came in from Burna Boy at a time like this. So you guys, you need to understand that, to an extent, Burna Boy now Odogu. That is something you guys need to understand about this. He actually headlined stadium-sized venue in Europe, North America, signed a landmark deal with, sportswears, and also, with a lot of other brands. But majorly, he actually earned his money from touring. That is something you got to understand from this whole thing. So some of the key revenue trends in 2025, you got to understand the key revenue trends, how they actually earn the money, what actually brought in money for this artist where you dey see so. What actually brought in money for this artist where you dey see so? Because based on the list now, Rema actually joined the big three to make it the big four. So when you look at it now, when Rema comes out to say in a big four, you go really look at it from this point of view. Some of the key trends in this in 2025: the power of touring, Burna Boy ability to command multi-million dollar guarantees for individual stadium dates and a lot of events. He actually did a lot, won a lot at event, shut down stadium size like 100,000, maybe 90,000 and the rest. So those are monies for Burna Boy. And then based on the kind of report we got, they said he actually bulk up about $30 million in annual revenue for 2025. That is actually a whole lot of money and a whole lot of earnings for Burna Boy. Endorsement dominance with a lot of brands out there, and that really gave him money in 2025. With his 5 album, he was able to secure some kind of deals with PS5. I think that actually brought in a lot of money for Davido. That is something you got to understand. He signs, across fashion, tech, and the rest. So a lot of these artists, they get their area where they earn money from. So, and also when you earn money, how you invest it, how you put it to use, how you, the kind of contract when you sign matters a lot on the amount of money you'll be able to keep for yourself. So now we got, streaming and catalog values. That actually went to Wizkid. He actually maintained he actually maintained elite streaming in terms of streaming revenue. He became a billion stream owner on Spotify, one of the first for an African artist, based on impact he has actually made with the likes of Drake and the rest. And he was able to earn a lot of money for this. His Mariah's album actually earned a lot for him in 2025. That is something. The album was among the highest streamed album for 2025 by Afrobeat artists. So Wizkid actually earned a lot of money from that. And majorly, I think the catalog of Wizkid is actually rich, and he's earning a lot of money from the catalog, lip syncing, and a lot of other things. Guys, in 2025, these artists we are really counting on, they actually, kind of diversified into many things. Burna Boy, to an extent, went into fame. There's Burna Boy moved into film production, and Wizkid deep integration into fashion house and also documentary production. So a lot of them are trying to diversify in terms of earning. But on the part of Davido, that guy has a diversified means of earning because he is a board member of Pacific Holdings, and that is really going to earn a lot of money for him. That is something I feel a lot of people don't really understand, that Davido is the only Nigerian artist that partly owned a private jet. So, and when he travels with this private jet, Davido is also announcing to a lot of people, celebrities out there, that we get private jet leasing company. You can actually lease from us. So this guy is really, really branding for, a papa company, and also branding for international companies like Mattel and a lot of others. So that is a diversified means of income, because you as an artist, you need to diversify if you want to make a lot of money in future, because you are not going to be number one artist forever. So you need to start building another source of revenue, because you got the capital, you got the influence to actually build it at a time. So what are your own takes about this? Based on what I kind of understand, net worth is often cited in tens of millions, with estimates from Wizkid, Burna Boy, and Davido ranging between 30 million to 100 and something million dollars. That is something you got to understand. So these 2025 figures specifically reflect the annual cash flow, not their net worth. So guys, make una not put words for my mouth. Not their net worth, but the annual cash flows. That is between 30 million to 50 million dollars was earned by these guys. That is something you got to really understand about this. So what are your own takes about this? I want you to put your own take in the comment section so that we can really have a take on what you feel. Don't forget to like, share my videos across social media platforms, and be a part of our daily conversation.